Good morning, Signature Life. How are we doing? Get up, get up. Come on. You know the drill here in Green Valley. Get up, get up, get up. You know the drill. Get up. You know the drill here in Green Valley. We don't sit there. Get up. Woo! Ellie, we stand. We stand in Green Valley. Meanwhile, Janet's still taking notes from a previous meeting. So, well, welcome. Good morning, everyone. We got a great lineup for you. We got Mr. Bishop and our wonderful CEO of NVR, Tiffany Banks here. So we're going to roll them out. But first, Roya, our wonderful broker, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So we have some great lineup today, as Keith mentioned. We also have a couple speakers today. Not speaker, but kind of like a little bit of chat with you today. We're going to start off with our mortgage moments, and Gabby's going to take it away and give us some good news. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. You can do it. You can do it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so maybe not great news, but I wanted to talk to you guys about bankruptcies. I know. So 2 different types of bankruptcies. We have Chapter 7. As we all know, the Chapter 7, they typically wipe out all your debt, and then you have your waiting periods. With conventional, you do have a waiting period of 4 years, and that 4 years is going to be from the time that it's discharged. So it's not the time that the bankruptcy starts, it's the discharge date. And then with FHA and VA, it's going to be 2 years. So with the Chapter 13, what they do, instead of removing all of your debt, they restructure all your loans, they put you on a payment plan, and they say, hey, you're going to pay $1,000 for the next 3 years. Well, with the Chapter 13, on conventional, you still have to wait 2 years. FHA and VA, they allow you to do the loan, even though you're in a bankruptcy, as long as you can show 12-month payments that are due, and you get court approval. So with that, you can still help your buyers get into a home while they're in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So I heard that even though you think your bankruptcy is done, if they haven't filed it yet, that could be a little bit later deadline. Is that?
Correct. So you're going to go based off of your discharge date. It's completely different. So you can start your bankruptcy, and it can take a little bit longer. The date of your discharge is the date that we're going to go off of. Prosperity does have the option to, or has, they can pull bankruptcy papers for you guys. So if you guys have any clients that maybe aren't sure, maybe have questions, hey, I think my discharge was this date, we can pull all the bankruptcy papers and we can pull the discharge papers. So just keep that in mind. The reason I bring this up is because I recently read an article that credit card balances have gone up over $1 trillion in the second quarter of this year, which has been the highest. In addition to that, people are withdrawing money from their 401k just to make ends meet. So it's getting a little bit rough for some people out there. So bankruptcies may be coming soon. So we just want to make sure that, hey, you can still get that loan in a 13. And then obviously the seasoning dates for the Chapter 7. Any questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Good stuff.
Can you tell us what the rate is really quick? No pressure.
More bad news?
It's under credit card. It's under credit card interest rates. That's all you need to worry about.
Yeah. Rates are still in the 7s. Still in the 7s. Yeah, it's not horrible, right? But we still want to get our clients into a home today versus later on when the rates drop and then prices increase. So definitely want to make sure that we're talking to our clients about that. All right, thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, right now it's super important for you guys to get your buyers into houses because we don't know, obviously right now it's more of a seller's market, so we're getting multiple offers. This is the best time to get your buyers into some places. So before we move on, Denise wants to talk a little bit about the Breast Cancer Foundation, and she's going to have some great asks for you.
My ass? Asks. Oh, I got some great asks for you today. Oh, I don't think we can say that on camera. I'm sorry. So we are raising money for breast cancer awareness. We are, yes, and we are selling libation baskets. If you have seen them over at the Spanish Ridge office, they are a value of $250 or more. They're really, really nice. The tickets are 1 ticket for $5, 6 tickets for $25, 15 tickets for $50, or 40 tickets for $100. Now, we're going to be drawing on our luncheon on the 30th. You do not have to be present to win, so you can Zelle bill the money, come see me after the meeting, and I'll get you some tickets and Zelle you. But we'd also like to see you at the luncheon. It's $35. We're going to have some really great raffle prizes there. A couple of them are T-Bones has given us a night stay plus night stay at the Red Rock with $250 at T-Bones. We've got, yeah, I know, right? I'm just saying. And it had 'em. And then we've got Awakening tickets. We've got Temptation tickets at the Smith Center. We've just got a lot that you can come and get at that. You have to be present for those, though. But you don't have to be present for. It's Beso Restaurant. It's the 30th. So let's peddle some tickets for the breast. Huh? We've sold $800 in tickets. We've probably got 30 coming to the luncheon. So to beat last year. We had 35 attendees, but we made, how much did we make? No. But how much money did we make last year?
How much money did you raise last year? Yeah. Yeah, you got $2,463 to go.
Over 8,000. We're not there yet. We've got a ways to go. So even one ticket, guys. One ticket, $5. You could get a basket of $250, and they're nice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you haven't given it. You want to stop by right now. No pressure. Look, see Jamal. That's it. That's right. Thank you, Jamal. I'm going to let you get that one. Okay, cool. So we're going to go right into wants and needs really quick. What do we got out there that we want to sell?
And remember, think of your clients. Think of your clients when this is coming up.
Exactly. Jamal, come on up.
Come on up.
You got to come up here. We need a microphone. Jamal's got, and Patricia. Wait, come on. Patricia, you come. You're closer. Come on. Okay. He's got longer legs. All right, here you go. Okay, here you go.
Oh my God, hi everybody. All right, so I have a really unique situation, but it is a 3-bedroom, 2-story, 1,600 square feet, 89143 all the way. It's like right up by Cow Canyon, but we're going under. It's going to be at 335. So, yeah, so we really want a really fast close. So we're trying to get an offer by Monday or Tuesday so they can buy this like 1.1. So help me out. It's super easy. We just had everything done, so it's going to be clean. Let me know. Hit me up. 2-story.
Okay, cool. So if we have any buyers in 89143, let's call Jamal. Not even on the market yet. Okay, come on, Patricia. All right.
Come see me, Jamal, after this.
It sounds like Keith has something for you. Here you go.
Okay, hello. So Sun City Anthem, it's a 1,585 square foot. It's a 2-bedroom, and it has paid off solar. It has a jacuzzi and built-in barbecue in the backyard. He just put all new appliances in the kitchen, new flooring in the front room, and it was freshly painted less than a year ago. So it's a $495. I know it's a little high up there, but fully paid off solar. A little wiggle room, not much. Okay.
All right, Sun City Anthem. Yeah. Guys, make sure you keep that in mind. Who else has a listing or a buyer that you guys are trying to place somewhere? Right now is a great time for us to help you out. Anyone?
Anybody got a buyer they want to help out? Think about it.
Come here,
You're
Angela.
throwing buyer
Come
needs
here,
out
come
there.
Here.
Come on. Yeah, come on up.
Yay, Angela. What do we got? Hustled pretty good. That was fast.
I need your help. I have a buyer looking for a single story in the Northwest with an RV garage. Around $1 million. There is nothing out there. I need your help. So if you guys see
Around
anything,
$1 million? You are around $1 million?
reach out to me in the app.
So, did you guys hear that? Around $1 million with RV.
RV
So you're sitting there
garage.
thinking of someone right now that you know has got a place like that is
It's kind of
thinking
unique,
about
like
selling.
smaller house. She's happy with under
Right.
3,000 square feet. It's just her. So if you see anything. In the Northwest, yeah. There's nothing.
Well, there's obviously nothing on the market, otherwise she would have found it. So
I'll do that. I know, you would think. Last year was a lot easier. Now, not so much.
I'm going to help you. It's a challenge to all of us. Let's do it. Yes. All right, anybody else? Oh, wait, Trish's back.
Sorry,
No problem.
List of buyers, can't find them anything. Okay. One buyer, Boulder City, single family, 575, under 4 bedrooms or more, decent sized backyard. Okay, it would be a contingent upon sale. Second, I got some condo buyers. Please help me. I have my senior. She's going to be just a 1-bedroom condo, first floor, about 200,000. If you can get her in the Henderson area, she has her business is right up the street. She's amazing, facialist, and we're just trying to get her into something in this area. And then I have another condo buyer in the 205 range. He'll go anywhere, Henderson adjacent, 89122, 89121, depending where. 205, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, prefers the first floor but doesn't care.
Good stuff.
If you can get either one of them up to about $2 million, I've got a condo for you.
There you go. Michael, didn't you have a cool one coming on the market? Oh, you got disregard. It's already a couple offers. Never mind. Okay, great. So then we're going to hand it off to Janet.
Miss Janet.
Come and drop some knowledge on us.
I don't have it. I don't have any knowledge today. What I do have is, if you got a garage full of boxes of papers, LVR is having their shred-a-thon on September the 22nd in the LVR parking lot from 9 to 12. Now, they've been doing this usually twice a year, then they cut back to once a year for years. But it's always been on a Saturday. And it said September 22nd, which is a Friday. So if you need to get rid of all these papers and get them shredded, you can take up to 10 boxes. The main thing I want to talk about is Signature's annual picnic in the park. Now, when Signature first started in 2013, Brandon said, I want a family event where we could meet the families of the agents. So we planned a picnic in the park, Hillwood Park in Summerlin. And Mike Rasmussen flew in from Alaska. It's in August, and it is hot. I mean, it was hot. And he stood out in the sun and grilled chicken. Everybody brought a side dish to share. Unfortunately, he didn't cook any of the chicken long enough. So we gave that up, and we went to having it catered to make it easier on the agents, because I was there till very late cleaning up because everybody just left their mess, their Tupperware, dishes, everything. So this year, to make it easy, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be the same place it's been for the past 10 years. There are going to be some special surprises. I don't even know what they are yet, to celebrate our 10th anniversary. And we're having food trucks. So they will clean up the mess. And it's free to you. It's free to your family. We ask you bring a dessert to share. And the most important thing, if 20 of you are going to show up, we don't want the food trucks to show up with food for 100, and vice versa. So please call Kyla at the Spanish Ridge office, and well, you don't have to call her. Email her, Kyla at signaturenv.com. Email her on the app and say, I'm coming, and I'm bringing my wife and 3 kids. Total of 5, whatever. You can bring, well, and I will tell you honestly, more people bring their dogs than bring their kids. But your dog has to be on a leash the whole time. And I have to just say this too, there is no alcohol allowed in the park. So I'm just going to throw out one word: discreet. Discreet. And here are flyers. I'll put them right here for the time being. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much. So just 2 announcements really quick. Don't forget about the prospecting workshop right here in the office on the 21st, which is going to be from 8:30 till 12. And so usually we do role plays. You get on the phones, and then afterwards we do a recap. You're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. And then if you are a team leader, there is a luncheon here. I've kind of messaged you through the app, but not everybody goes onto the app very frequently. So want to make sure that you guys are here by 11:45 Thursday, September 14th, which is the day after tomorrow. So if you are a team leader anywhere in Signature, please come to the luncheon. We have some great food for you and some great ideas for your team.
Great stuff. A lot of great stuff going on. We've come a long way from the year of the bad chicken class action lawsuit days, haven't we? See how much we've gotten past all that? Hey, so Chris is going to come up along with our special guest, and I just wanted to say a couple things. You guys are in for a treat because she is so infectious. And I've been talking to a lot of agents out there, and it's starting to percolate. You're starting to feel the nervousness again. You start to feel people under pressure. And so I'm going to tell you two things. First, if you aren't taking advantage of coaching, if you don't have a coach, you're well on your way of going out of business. And I can't say that more seriously. You need to get a coach. You need to get involved. We've got so many opportunities between the Signature Elite, the Dirty Dozen, the Academy, the mentorship program, whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself back on track or stay on track or elevate yourself to the next level that you want to be, you need to start thinking about that. And the reason I bring that up is because this person, the joke between Tiffany and I've known her so long, she changed her name on me. And I don't think it was all because of the stalking thing. I think she didn't really do that. It was maybe a little bit something. Thanks, Ellie, for that. Yeah. But she is so infectious. She's going to come up here, and you're going to get sucked into the Tiffiness, as I call it, because of just her attitude and her mental attitude. She has done things with our leadership program. She has made Tom into a respectable person, and I think that alone needs a standing ovation. And she's taken that leadership program that many of us have been there, a couple of past deans to the program, and has raised that up as well. So give her your attention and give her your applause and your greeting and give her a warm signature welcome to Tiffany Banks.
Wow, Keith, what? You almost had me tearing up just now. What are you going to say now? I'm going to say nice things about you, right?
Well, I get to say some things first. So first off, how's everyone doing this morning? Yay. I'm glad Roya's here, thank God. What do you guys think about the real estate market? So I'm going to tell you, going to the association, going to different realtor events, and I don't go to as many as Tom because I actually have a full-time job. The one thing I'm hearing in the marketplace is everyone has a fear. They have a fear of what's going to happen. They have a fear of interest rates. They have a fear of price drops. They have a fear of prices being too high. And it just seems to me that every agent has something to be afraid of, and they're letting that kind of consume them from doing any business. And one of the things I've noticed as well is that the amount of listings hasn't gotten any better. Like, we're only seeing a few thousand listings hit the market every single month. But what I'm encouraged by is that Signature has been listing around 200 to 300 listings per month. So that means that we're 12 to 14% of the market, and that's pretty incredible for a company. So give yourself a round of applause for that, because that's a pretty cool thing. I'm really excited today to have Tiffany here because I've known Tiffany for a long time too. I'm not really sure how long. How long have you been with Nevada Realtors?
10 years.
10 years. Wow. We'll wait.
Do you like that song?
I must.
Okay.
I must like that song.
We approve.
So he threw me all off from that. I had a whole train of thought I was going to go down.
I've been with
years.
the association 10 years.
Yes.
I was a baby when I started.
Me too. Okay. Me too. And Signature started 10 years ago, so that's kind of cool. It's a simile, right? Similar? It's not nepotism. It's not a simile? Signature simile? Okay. If they weren't here, this would be a really good meeting. So the reason Tiffany's here today is we need to congratulate Tiffany because she just took over as the CEO of Nevada Realtors. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It was the first time I've ever gone to an appointment to appoint someone to a position with a group of people where every single person in the group said, yep, that's the person. And so congratulations on that, because that was pretty incredible to witness, and it must mean that they have a lot of trust, love in your leadership style and who you are. So before Nevada Realtors, tell us about you. What did you do before that?
Thank you. This is such a lovely welcome also, and this is why I do love coming back year after year to Signature. You really do, and then I'll get into talking a little bit about me, but you really do have this wealth of knowledge in these individuals that really care, that are involved heavily in your business, you thriving as an individual in your personal life and professional life. They're so invested in that, and I travel around for the last 10 years to the thousands of different real estate offices that we have, talking to realtors every single day. And I just want to let you know that you guys are so fortunate to have this. Utilize their knowledge and utilize what you have, because it's not common. And so I just want to start off by saying that. So how I got to this point, so I grew up in Northern Nevada. I left, I went to college in Arizona at Arizona State, and then I traveled around for some years following a baseball player and also having really interesting, amazing jobs. I worked as a spokesperson for NASCAR, for the PGA Tour, for Anheuser-Busch. And so I had a lot of amazing, interesting experiences where I was traveling all over the world, representing different brands, and then I decided to go to law school and started law school in San Diego and ended up moving to LA after, and I went back to Reno for what I thought was going to be a year, and I promised I would leave Reno because I loved Southern California. I thought I'm never going to stay here. And I ended up talking to a friend from high school, and I said, I only want a really cool law job. I'm not going to work in a law firm. I'm not going to do family law, criminal defense. So I eliminated 99% of law jobs. And she said, she's our lobbyist, she said, if a job with the realtors comes available, I feel like that's a great fit for you. And sure enough, 6 months later, a job came up, and it was answering the legal information line. And my first few months there, I knew contracts. That was what I felt like was my strong suit. But I had to learn everything about real estate law, and so I just dove right in. And being that resource, you learn fast because you're getting all of the questions that, I mean, a lot are similar, but you're just navigating. And I love people, and so it was a perfect. You just sit and you talk to your members all day long, and you try to help them navigate an issue as it comes up. And then that turned into, I had an opportunity to work legislative session less than a year later, and that was going to also be for a couple months, and then that turned into me taking over in the general counsel role. And I'd say in the last 10 years, I've taken on happily almost any project that's been given to me, even if it hasn't been legal per se. And so the Leadership Academy that they were talking about, that Angela is in this year and doing just a phenomenal job, it's now become definitely one of my babies. This is my 8th class this year, and just getting an opportunity to see, I mean, very, very, very high-level realtors come in and have these breakthroughs and want to come in and grow and learn and evolve and make a difference in their community and their business and their family. I think that that's something that's really beautiful, and also give back to the community, which is a lot of what we're about. And so, like Keith said, Tom, when he came in, we didn't know what kind of breakthroughs he was going to have. He was very shy and timid, and no, he wasn't. But he was very outspoken, and watching Tom evolve over the last several years, and now in this position of a leadership trustee and dean, and this is his last year as a dean, and then having this opportunity to move into the CEO position under his leadership has been something extraordinarily special for me personally, because we've always had just this fantastic, relationship, and he cares about the members so deeply. He cares about doing the right thing so deeply. Like the things that he's navigated this year, no, but I really want to, because it's true, has been so impressive. And there's not a time I can't pick up the phone and call and he's available. I know. And so I've been really grateful for that. And so so taking over in this position has always been something, at least in the past 5 years, that we've talked about one day. And so, I've had opportunities over the years to maybe go do something else, but it's really, really, really difficult to leave the realtor brand and this community, and I would never want to go anywhere else. And so when this all unfolded, in the last few months, I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity and to continue to serve you and really try to navigate towards the future of, what's setting you guys up for success, to the fullest extent, right? What does that look like? And so we're taking a look at all of these different programs that we maybe have looked at but haven't done anything with, or maybe it hasn't been the right time. And we're trying to look at a longer plan, right? What do we want Nevada Realtors? What member benefits do we want in 5 to 10 years? Because a lot of members know what a local association does, but they don't realize what the state does for them. And we really, 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 with your help, want to change that perception. We want you to feel like we're integrated in your world just as much as LVR is, and that you have a benefit, and you see that benefit, and you're able to share. We want the feedback. We want to have this open dialogue of again, what we can do to work with the locals to support them, national support us, and then, it's now, I think, more important than ever with lawsuits and different things happening at the national level to stick together and to really be bonded in your industry and what you do, and not talk badly about one another. And I know it's tough. You get frustrated with with what other agents do, but I think those outside the realtor world now would love to see kind of the realtors sort of crumble, or just all, the times are tough, right? So but you guys can persevere, and we've already done it many times before, and because there's so many disruptors right now. I keep pointing to the lawsuits, but this is an example of one major one. The more you're able to stick together and, really portray what it means to be a realtor, who the brand is, I think the better.
That was
Did I
a
answer?
long answer, wasn't it?
Well, you told me that
It was perfect. It was perfect, except for the part about Tom. But I'm gonna take a second and say that I'm really proud of Tom, because I've watched him go through that, and I got to spend my year as state president on the phone every day with my CEO and talking it through. And you really do. It's a job that you take on and you deal with. The good news for you is he won't be there much longer. His term ends, but you're the continuity piece. You are the part that continues on and takes the vision and takes the association forward after the vision of each president that you have. Talk a little bit about things like the legal hotline and services that you guys provide that they can take advantage of to help their business.
So that's what we're looking at right now is, our main thing, what we do, and Keith knows this very well as legislative chair, is, we are an advocacy body. That is our main purpose and goal as the state. So the locals, handle education and professional standards, and we do a little bit of that, but what we're set up to do is to be this advocacy machine. And so really taking a look at candidates and understanding, because again, I don't think a lot of members understand what we do day in and day out, and it's very politically driven, and it's all to benefit you and your clients. And so, I think a lot of members don't understand that we're not just representing them. And if there's a bill that comes up in legislative session that has to do with NRS 645, we obviously are engaged in that, but it goes far beyond that. And it goes to truly advocating for private property rights and making sure that those rights aren't compromised. And a lot of that work goes on, and again, Keith knows best, day in and day out, in session and outside of session. And so that's where the majority of what we do goes. Now, there's so many opportunities, again, that we haven't we're starting to go down the road of like innovation and technology, different affinity programs that we can offer to you, and then have that again in turn benefit the association. We just started. We have 3 PAGs right now. Government affairs, which again we're looking at what our government affairs does at the state and locals. Number 2, a social media marketing branding. We want to make sure that we're also representing. We have a ton of legal videos, legal articles, advocacy efforts, community spotlights, what you all do in your community. We want to highlight all of that way more. We've done.
Let me talk about the legal part of it that you mentioned, because this is really important. So on your website, on Nevada Realtors website, you have written a number of papers on different frames of our business, of things that happen, such as can I pay an attorney a commission? You wrote an entire 2-page letter on the fact that no, unless they have a real estate license, unless it's like going to their trust
The
account
lawyers
for
didn't
advice.
like that.
Yeah, I bet they
the
didn't.
other lawyers did not like me on that one.
But they're resources.
Right.
And so what I like as a broker is that I can go on that page, I can click that down button, and there are literally articles that you've written on almost every real estate subject that a broker or agent could look for in a transaction. And so they're able to take these and actually present them to their clients, or use them to present to the other agent who may not know that it's there. And then the hotline itself, you answered that phone for so long on every question they could have in real estate when maybe their broker wasn't there, or we're always here. But it's just a great resource for that.
Yeah, so those are great resources, and we're trying, and again, we're gonna beef those up even more, so that if we do it statewide form, which that's come up, that if it goes through, we'd have a new statewide form. We'll see what happens with that. But in that, we would make sure that the resources you have are almost section by section, right? Like we do webinars, we would do just educational pieces. So if you have a question and maybe you've already asked Chris 3 times and then you forget, it would be a resource that you can just go back, or you can print off for yourself and be looking at the contract and then all of the resources next to it of what this means to explain that to your client. And so, yes, I mean, our legal information line, you can call 5 days a week. And Gina used to work with the real estate division as their commission counsel for 15 or 20 years. And so she has a very great in-depth knowledge of real estate. You can call her and ask, I'm in the middle of escrow and the basement flooded. What do I do? And
Just fill it in.
Fill it in.
Yeah. So let's talk about the statewide form, because that's a big thing that I don't think many agents know is coming. So we already have a couple of statewide forms, like the duties owed is a statewide form, the SRPD is a statewide form, but those are forms provided by the legislature to the real estate division.
Yes.
That go through that process, and that we use them as a standard of practice. You guys are talking about a statewide contract.
Yes.
And so as a real estate professional, technically my license is for licensing in the state of Nevada. And the problem has been in the north and the south, they practice real estate very differently. Like, we don't have basements here because of caliche very often, but in the north they do in a lot of places, and they flood a lot. That's not funny. I'm just saying it's in that area. And
you laugh when you're nervous,
yeah,
right?
I do.
Okay.
I laugh a lot. I just realized that. And in Lake Tahoe, they have issues with the lake and things that they, conservation things and stuff like that. And so it's always been a struggle to have a contract that works for both the north and the south. Now, I got to tell everyone, you shouldn't practice in a marketplace that you don't understand. That's a rule of thumb. But it would be really nice to have one document that everyone looks to and says, we get it. And we understand how it works. And for the consumer to know that there's only one contract that all of the realtors are using throughout the state. This has been a horrible, horrible process for you, because it started with, who was before me? It started with Lynham, kind of, and that was 2019, and now we're in 2023, and we're just at the point where it might get rolled out. And that's because everyone has picked it apart, from every broker to every PAG that they've had to every president. So tell us a little bit about how you went through that process and survived.
So the goal is essentially for the state to take on the liability, for the forum, right? And so you want having a statewide forum would just benefit the members because, to Chris's point, you would know the forum inside and out. You would have your own addendums, so the locals would still have their own specific addendums for those different variables that Chris touched on. But having a statewide forum would just make everything more uniform. A lot of states that operate very well, they do have statewide forums, especially this one. It's been challenging because we asked for the best and the brightest from every local association to be put on this forums committee, and it took a while for them to stop saying, in the north we do this, in the south we do this, in the north we do this. And once they were able to break down those barriers, then it became crystal clear that, and we kept saying, well, what's best for the state? What's best for the state? And I had two things going in that I said, if you guys can come out of this, and I let them as the practitioners do their thing, right? I said the two things that I would love to see come out of this forum. Number one, take away as much liability as we can from agents and brokers. Make sure that this is specifically a contract that's clearly between the buyer and the seller, or buyers and sellers, and try to remove liability of agents. And number two, to limit earnest money disputes, because we, as the state of Nevada, every time I go to national events, we have more earnest money disputes in this state than almost any other state. So what language can we put in? What types of, trying to limit even what the agent's filling into just a tiny line that you put in a number rather than too much information. And so at the end of the day, this forums committee worked extraordinarily well, and they met sometimes every single week, and they talked for 5 hours over one section. And the version and the draft that we have, we feel like it's a very strong, easy to understand, flows great once you read it over a couple times document. The step now is getting the local associations who they own their own forums library, at least Las Vegas and Sierra Nevada does, to take to So what they've done up in northern Nevada is they've started.
Eloquently said there, Tom. Thanks.
So in northern Nevada, in northern Nevada, they love the form so much they're taking out all the sections and adding it to their form rather than just adopting it. So that's a challenge. And at the end of the day, that's something that it's not going to be a hill for us to die on. We have a great form. We want them to accept it, but it's interesting because, again, that's the politics, right? Like we want to do a good thing, and then you're just like, we want to work together. We're not trying to take over. We're just trying to add to it and take on liability.
So
wouldn't you want that?
You would think so, but what many people don't know is here in Las Vegas, 25, 26 years ago, every broker used a different contract. And it worked. I mean, it worked. People handled it. And what would happen is an agent would write an offer, and it would be on, let's say, Signature's contract, and they would send it to a Coldwell Banker agent who's used to their contract, and they all had different terms and different terminologies and different attorneys and different legal advice. And so we were able in Southern Nevada, because of the board, to pull all of those people together and use one contract. So it has happened before. But when I started in the business in 2004, the contract was only 8 pages long, and it had carbon copies, right? Like little copies you rip off and give to somebody. This contract would be like 19 pages.
Well, we had bigger font, and
Yeah, they're gonna
the
fix
font,
that.
yeah, it's hard to read. So.
But it's not 19 pages because of bad information. I noticed that it has a lot of good pieces that you pick instead of writing things out like you said. So at the end of the day, the good news for you guys is we've been involved the entire time. We're able to train on it. We understand it. We have great resources to help us with it, but it's not going to be the end of the world. But I guarantee you, as soon as this comes out locally, the videos you will see on Facebook and social media will be worth the show, right? Because people are going to lose their minds when it comes out. But thank you for doing that and going through it.
Thanks for the warning.
Yes,
in
it's gonna be good.
advance.
It's going to be so good. What else with Nevada Realtors would you like to share with the group before we go into legal issues?
So I would just like to say that moving forward, and something that's been really, really, really important to us and this executive team is just having open, honest communication. Sometimes it hurts to hear certain things. Sometimes there's difficult conversations to be had, but we as Nevada Realtors and, through the executive team are fully committed to, just the transparency of if something, whatever the issue is, like if somebody doesn't answer your legal information line within an hour and, you had to call 4 times, like let us know so we can fix it. Like whatever needs to be done, we're here to support that. Again, know that from the bottom of our hearts, and Tom has a huge heart, that we truly want you to thrive. We want to see you navigate these times and just end up better because of it.
I completely forgot, but that we should mention this. So most agents don't know that membership does have its privileges. On the local level, there are about 300 different vendors that offer a discount to Realtor members if they use their service, and you can simply go on Las Vegas Realtor's site and see that. On the state level, you guys have vendor affiliate partners that are on there as well. One of the biggest benefits I remember was the prescription plan, which was only like $5 a month, and it got me massive discounts for prescriptions, and that was kind of cool. The National Association also has thousands of vendor affiliates that are on there. One that's really interesting is Home Depot. So had a client buying new appliances. I went and got my Realtor code. I got the coupon, and they got 20% off all their appliances. Yeah, so, but things you don't know, right? How often do you buy a fridge? Not very often.
I think rental cars, like they have a bunch
They
of,
do.
yeah.
I bought a Yukon Denali one time years ago, and I couldn't believe it, but they had a GMC discount, and it was like $2,000 you got off the car, and you want to wait and tell the guy after you made the deal and be like, oh, I forgot my coupon, right? I learned that lesson the first time I got a car, do it the second time the right way. But any affinity partners that are just like, you want to share that?
That's what we're working on right now. We're doing an overhaul.
revamping it.
Yeah, we're revamping. And then I want to also mention the Leadership Academy. And so like I mentioned, Angela's going through it right now. We're going to start recruiting within the next 2-3 weeks. It's a truly amazing program. We select 16 to 18 realtors from across the state, and they take part. They don't know what they're getting themselves into, but they take part in a year-long program all about personal and professional growth. And the program continues to evolve each and every year with better locations and speakers, and we dive deep almost program 1 now. We used to wait till program 2 or 3, but now it's like we give them 4 hours and then we go deep so that they can really feel like they're moving the needle, and it's a year-long commitment. So I'm happy to chat with anybody that and I'm sure you guys have heard it over the years, what a great program it is. But if you have any questions on the program, we're going to be starting to send the applications out in the next month. So I'll make sure to get them over.
Just curious, who here in the room has gone through the leadership program? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people from Signature. Fantastic. I know Brandon has gone through it as well. I think I'm the only one that hasn't gone through it.
I know, you were supposed to go through it next year.
Not me. I would never say anything bad about it. Yes. Leadership needs you.
You should do it next year.
I should do it next year. That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so everyone's been talking about it. A lot of things going on with it. That there are a tremendous amount of lawsuits that have popped up against our industry, and those are the videos that we've seen the most of people talking about. It's going to be the end of an era. Realtors are going away like travel agents. What is your take on it? That how these lawsuits will affect the industry?
So my personal take comes back to, and we're going to go through a bunch of slides here. How do we use the, is there a clicker? Or he just, say next slide, next slide. There's billions of dollars at risk here. If NAR, worst case scenario, were to lose everything, insurance does not cover billions of dollars, but like any organization, they would work to restructure. They feel extraordinarily confident at this point. We meet every other week, and they feel extraordinarily confident in the practice that they've engaged in. As you'll see, there's some tweaks that need to be made. One thing that we've talked about is a buyer-broker agreement. And Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Before you talk about that, though,
Okay.
before you talk about that, wait, I just want to make
Okay.
sure everyone gets this. Realtors are members of the association. Every state has state licensees.
Yes.
So I think one of the things people forget about is that, let's say that NAR went bankrupt. That just means the realtor membership portion of the way we practice our industry would have a major issue. It doesn't mean that you would use your state licensee privileges because that's granted to you by the state.
Yes.
Unless someone sued the state.
Yes, exactly. So no matter what, there's always going to be real estate licensees. It's and actually, even if NAR went away, there's a need for state and locals. Like the state and locals can't go anywhere because states have the advocacy efforts and locals process almost everything else. And so, again, it's a big question of what does national do for us? What does the state do for us? What does the local do for us? And so I think now more than ever, showing what those member benefits are is going to help carry you through.
So we've had a number of lawsuits that have already happened in the past that have affected our business, and we've catered to and changed with them. Some of them, I don't know if it was really a lawsuit, but clear cooperation, the ability for non-realtor members to be able to access properties on the MLS and find the info. We've seen some of the antitrust suits that came out change the fact of co-ops and where they're positioned. If you've been on Zillow now, you see that every single property highlights the co-op that's there for the other agent that's showing the property. So really, so far, the suits that have happened, all that's happened is we've pivoted the way that we positioned ourselves as an industry, and business has gone on. It hasn't stopped it.
That's what we're hoping with this. And so as part of that pivot, the buyer-broker agreement is...
You watch a lot of Friends, too, don't you?
...is one of those pivotal moments. And so, so right now, buyer-broker agreements are used sometimes, not all the time. The idea when we talk about it being mandated would mean that we actually go to the legislature, and it's not a statewide form in that, like the duties owed or SRPD, we still would be able to create the form, but it's mandated in law. And so that could be years out, but that's a lot of conversation that goes on at NAR is requiring it for everyone so that when you're meeting with a buyer and they say, I don't want to sign that, I'm going to go to work with Agent X because they're not requiring that, then you'd miss out on that client because it's not required. And so that's what a lot of this conversation has been stemming from. If you require it by state law, then everybody has to do it. Buyers, brokers then know how they're getting paid. Buyers know what they're paying to that broker. It's not, it's not in house price doesn't go up because of it. Sellers know what they're paying their listing broker, so it's more transparent in that sense.
Can you believe that as a company we are a little divided on that topic? So
Shocker.
we're not all in agreement on the buyer broker agreement. But here's what I think is interesting: is the state of Utah does have that law. They require an agency agreement be signed for every buyer transaction. Keith made a really interesting argument today, and he makes a lot of arguments. It's like good and evil, right? Or vice versa. His point was that if I'm a good practitioner and I am having the meeting with my client and I'm upfront with them about what my service is, then it is a sales benefit that I'm able to sell the consumer on using that agreement that gives me a leg up against my competitors. And then I think the opposition part is that for an agent who, let's say, is newer and not as well trained yet, that they could lose that client to someone else who, doesn't require the agreement. I think that, and me personally, my personal opinion, I think it's a great idea, but just me, because the agreement means that I'm dedicated to that client and they're dedicated to me, which would happen whether the law was there or not. But it just provides that extra support. I believe it would make all agents better at their ability to present, right? But why is this up now? What lawsuit caused this to be a conversation.
We are going to go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what's going on. So NAR and 4 corporate defendants were sued in lawsuits filed in Missouri and Illinois, alleging commission rates are too high, buyer brokers are being paid too much, and NAR's code of conduct and MLS handbook, along with the corporate defendants' practices, lead to price fixing. So a lot of the discussion stemmed around, what is my buyer's agent really doing for me if I'm the one that I'm going on to Google or going on to Zillow or going on to MLS or Realtor.com and finding the house, and then I'm giving it to them to then let me in the house, and that's all they do. Like, a lot of these it kind of stems from, what is the buyer's agent doing for me? And you all know that even if a client's sending you a listing, you do a lot more than just show them the house. So NAR and the corporate defendants adamantly disagree, and NAR's rules are very intentionally pro-consumer and pro-competitive. That means that this entire time, you've never, we never talk about commission in a percentage. We talk about it, at least when we try to talk, we say apples, just so it's clear that you're not requiring a certain amount of commission to be paid. So the Merrill case is in its earlier stages, but Burnett is scheduled to go to trial in October of 2023. And you can hit the next slide. And so in the meantime, since these slides were prepared, this one of the defendants in the case, called Anywhere, which was, I believe it's like Coldwell Banker, Century 20. So they ended up settling for $83 million. And so a lot of the discussion, what? And so a lot of the discussion is that bad news for us, right? Like, if they just settled for $83 million, but no, you have to make a decision when you're in these large class action lawsuits of, do you financially have the money to keep going? And they probably, you have to be prepared in the hundreds of millions of dollars to properly defend yourself. So NAR is extraordinarily confident. They have the best inside and outside legal teams. Their legal experts are confident that they'll ultimately prevail in each case because they act in the best interest of consumers, and the law and facts are on their side. So these are the key points that NAR is making in October, and you guys will hear a ton of updates, but these questions come up all the time, so we thought it was important to go over with you. So we fundamentally disagree with how class action attorneys are characterizing our rules. At the heart of all this is that, very much because of NAR's rules and how well local MLS broker marketplaces function, consumers are better off and competition is able to thrive. The very reason NAR exists is because there was a need 100 years ago for a higher level of ethical practice in real estate. To Chris's point, there's a bunch of licensees. I think in Nevada, we have 20,000 members, and I think there's 28,000 actual licensees. So 7,000 or 8,000 are not realtor members. So realtors look out for their clients above all else. Compensation is set between brokers and their clients and is negotiable. Again, that's a key point. The free market and competition are encouraged by NAR, and there's incredible value in using a real estate agent, especially a realtor, when you buy and sell your home. And so they point back to the Code of Ethics, Article 1, that a realtor shall protect and promote the interests of the clients.
So a couple of takeaways I got from the comments you made on it. First off, most consumers don't know you have to abide by a code of ethics as a realtor, right? NAR is doing a massive push in media to explain to the consumers that a realtor is different than just a state licensee. And I want to put that out there because most people are like, oh, what does that matter? Well, technically, the Board of Realtors, if you were an unethical realtor that was found guilty of that, they would be able to take away your ability to practice and list properties in the MLS and use the lockbox system. And so if you imagine that you had no MLS access, it'd be pretty hard to sell real estate in some cases, right? And so the fact that you're regulated by that group of members that you're part of means that you're held to a higher standard. And there's how many articles to the Code of Ethics? I can't remember. Is it 17. And so there are 17 different articles that you need to be cognizant of that you're not violating. The other thing that's really important is NAR did start, I think it's actually more than 100 years. It's like 108 years ago. And it started because of unethical practices by brokers that were all men, by the way, because they didn't allow women into the industry. And if it wasn't for NAR stepping in, that never would have changed in their mind, but it would have changed, of course. And fair housing guidelines. They were stewards of getting fair housing to that point in some cases and making sure that we abide by it. That's why on the last page of your listing agreement, it's a fair housing guideline. And so I think all of those things make the difference. The last thing I noticed was agents all the time would go tell their buyer, hey, hire me, I'm free. Are you really free? No, there's a cost, right? Your commission is being paid in the transaction through the cost of the seller. And so the business practice of saying that or putting that on a sign and marketing it is not allowable because you're not free. And it's a misstatement by you. And I think that was the biggest change agents had to look at and do.
So, so again, Chris talked about what's NAR doing to address confusion. So there's misinformation and lack of understanding about NAR, how local MLS brokers, marketplaces work, and the value of realtors. NAR is regularly letting the media and people across real estate, academic, civic, and business communities know how NAR, local MLS broker marketplace, and realtors serve the best interests of American home buyers. And so what we deal with every session, legislative session, is we'll hear these horror stories of these bad actors, right? These terrible landlords or these terrible real estate agents, and a lot of the time they're not our members. And so it speaks to the point of we're held to a different standard, and we have no control over these rogue, people, and we deal with it all the time where a narrative is set, at least in some of the bills that we try to get through, and they're not even our realtor members. And so that's why it's really important, again, to know the difference between just a licensee and a realtor. So possible outcomes. So the optimal scenario is an immediate win in trial. And by the way, just because this trial's in October, appeals could go on for 5, 6, 7, for years. Otherwise, one outcome is a monetary damage award against the defendants. So that would mean against NAR, or there could be a court order changing NAR's policies or how commissions are paid to brokers. It is highly likely that no matter what side prevails, the losing side will appeal. So this could last forever. Okay. So these are the possible preparations for different outcomes. So sellers already signed contracts agreeing to what they will pay in commission. They're continuing to encourage realtors to use buyer-broker agreements and be reminded of their obligation under the Code of Ethics to advise your clients and make all agreements in writing so that it's clear and understandable. And just as NAR has been doing for years, it is imperative that realtors continue to express that commissions are set between the brokers and the clients, how much competition there is, the realtor value, every chance you get, and remind consumers all the ways realtors can help navigate through legal, community, and financial aspects. So again, it's now more important than ever to show up to your clients in your community representing who you are as a realtor. Yep.
So this seller's class action lawsuit can go on forever?
It could go on, appeal after appeal after appeal. And when there's so many different defendants, like in this case, you saw one defendant settled, but that it didn't, you kind of were waiting. Does that mean other defendants are going to settle? And that didn't happen. So again, the trial could take.
I see it on Facebook. Everybody's talking about it. And I'm like, oh. It just, makes my heart stop. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's got to be true. So real quick, because we're almost running out of time. So I know that some of the people in the audience may have questions for you. To paraphrase this in your opinion, what should they do differently to protect themselves with all the lawsuits that are out there in your opinion?
I think as much as you can, get a buyer-broker agreement in place. Start to have those conversations now, and the more you have realtor members doing that, the better, because again, you're not going to have one buyer saying, well, why am I going to sign it with you when somebody else isn't requiring me to sign it. So the more it just becomes a standard of practice, the better. And second thing is just, again, being sure to show up, show your clients who you are, why they need you, and show your value.
That's huge. You mentioned commissions, and I want to bring this up because I think agents forget this. Commissions are between the seller and the listing brokerage. And then we're agreeing to shave off a part of that commission to be a co-op to the other party. And so all the time I get agents that ask and say, hey, I want to give a credit for this, or I want to do this in the contract. We're just going to write an addendum and put it in the contract. You can't do that because that commission credit isn't between the buyer and seller, it's between the brokers. And the brokers have to give permission for you to give that commission away. And not that we're going to say, no, 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 don't do it. We may say, why are you doing it? Stop giving your money away. But it has to be signed off by that broker. And so that's one thing I see agents do wrong all the time right now. It's against the code of ethics for you to put commission in that contract, possibly. It actually doesn't say that. I argued with J.C. Melvin about it. Yes, it does. It says that. He said, no, it doesn't actually say it, but it could be construed that you violated the agreement between the parties because the parties didn't sign off on it. It would have been the two brokers that should have signed it, not the buyer and seller. And so that really kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop because in commercial, commission is in the contract. Different story. By the way, most commercial agents are not realtors. Didn't know that either. Okay, so anything that you want to add, Mr. State President, to the conversation? You're shaking your head no. First time ever. Okay. Questions from the audience for Tiffany? Anything at all that she can answer for you? She's here. Questions? Hold on. Annie has a question.
I'll be back in October.
On that same topic, is it possible for the individual brokerages to mandate buyer-broker agreements?
Absolutely. I think it's really up to the broker to create whatever type of office policies and practices that they want. Is that something that you guys have considered here?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
You said yes. Okay. Any other questions that I missed back there? Patricia.
So you guys are doing the new contract. I have a question. In our contracts now, it clearly states that if we are within the contingencies that the EMD will be released back to the buyer. We know the title company will not do that without the seller signing off. I've been fortunate, I've never run into this, but I've had friends who have. Because I use that to show my buyer how this is protected. The last thing you want is then they're within their due diligence and the seller goes MIA and then the title company will not release the EMD. What are you guys doing to address this problem?
So, the structure of a title company being a neutral third party has not changed. And so that the title company cannot look into the terms of a contract in that even if a contract explicitly says if X happens, earnest money to be automatically released, the difficult part is what if there was 5 different addendums where at some point they extended it, and then at some point seller does feel harmed because property's been off the market for 40 days instead of 3 days. There's all those different variables, and so that has not changed right now. We are working with title to see if there are any workarounds, and that might be a legislative change or something, but it's definitely the top of our priority list in that because they still won't release anything without both party signatures.
The other thing is you never want to provide any legal opinion to a client. And so the reason why it's in the contract is so that the client can read it instead of you saying it, right? And so the issue with the RPA is that RPA is in place to litigate against a judge by the client's attorney, right? And for your defense, hey, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller, this is what your contract says. It's in writing between you two as two parties, and that's why we have a legal hotline and the legal opinion so that when they get worried, they have the ability through you to be able to call and get a legal opinion, but that should always be on them because they're the ones sitting in front of the judge down the road. They're going to have to explain it. We used to do local mediations, which I hope we figure that back out again for earnest money disputes, but the cost of it, because we have so many, far exceeded the benefits of the program, and so the board got rid of it. I don't know why I wasn't on that board. Ellie wanted me to remind everybody something that he's seen is that agents are going on Facebook and they're posting how easy it was for them to sell the house so quickly without any real work done by the agent, and now we wonder why the consumers are pissed off, right? And so it's a good point. It's something that we should be cognizant of, because once you put something on Facebook, it's there for forever. By the way, nationally, we saw an issue just this last year where someone wasn't able to run for something because of something they posted 5 years ago. And so if you think people aren't checking, they are, right? Background checks now usually require
social media audits, they're called.
That's crazy.
Any other questions? So you call 800-748-6999, 800-748-6999. I know, but for those of you writing down the number, you call that number and then you just leave a message with basic information. I'm in the middle of escrow and the basement flooded. What do I do? And within 24 hours, but usually like pretty fast. She's been actually really fast as long as she's not off that day, which she doesn't really take that much time off. She'll give you a call back. You can kind of walk through the scenario. You don't have attorney-client privilege because we might get a call from the other side saying the basement didn't flood, this is what happened, and so there's two different stories, but we'll point you to the correct NRS, we'll point you to best practice. To Chris's point, we'll point you to a white paper we've done, we'll point you to a real estate commission ruling, and because there's some things that aren't illegal, so we can't say, oh, that's in violation of NRS 645 point this, but we can say, if this goes in front of a commission, this is what we've seen time and time again. We recommend that you don't do that because even though it's not illegal, if you go in front of a commission, they'll probably find that you're in violation. And so we just kind of help navigate that. And yes, we have one person now, and then I'm back up for that.
Yeah.
Yep, Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is a great point, because before you call the hotline, tie your broker in, because probably what's going to happen is you're going to call and ask that question, and then Tiffany or the attorney for the state's going to call probably one of us here at Signature and say, hey, we got a call. Yeah.
No, we don't tell on you, but we just.
That's what she says publicly.
No,
but
we don't tell on you, but it's always a best practice, to go to your broker first, and then if you can't get a hold of them, you can call us. And again, you're lucky that your brokers were in close communication, so we would like to always be on the same page. So what Chris is telling you, it's not going to be different than what we tell you. We might sometimes have like a slightly different opinion, but you go to your broker first, and then you can come to us.
Yeah. Let's give Tiffany a big round of applause. She flew
Thank
down
you
here to
all.
spend time with us.
So great seeing you, and I'll be back in October with Serena for a legislative
Yes.
update.
So.
Oh.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. He was doing so good. He almost made it through the whole hour. That was great. Real quick, there's more on that. I want to point out something that I think is really important, regardless of the things Tom says. I just got done watching Game of Thrones, and again, because great series. And, they built that wall to keep out all of the problems that were going to kill everybody in the thing. You guys are on that wall, and every legislative session, we have great people that step out. Keith was just our legislative chairman, and we have others from our group coming. Every year, someone's trying to take away our industry. The thing I'm going to tell you is we have an entire army that's fighting in your defense, and it's supported by all of you. And so feel free to reach out to these great people for all they're doing. But let's give them one more round of applause for all they do.
Thank you. Great seeing you guys.
Hope you guys, thank you for the extra time that you gave us. If you have any questions for Tiffany, definitely reach out to her, reach out to Tom, and make it a great, successful week. Be careful you don't float away in the rain.